They have ease of execution, but they have to fight to make this work because they naturally lose every lane, and they naturally lose every 2v2, and they naturally lose every 3v3. This is going to be a bloody game.
And in fairness, we were all having this conversation off screen where we said, look, when Ruddy don't have priority, when they've had a bit of an awkward draft, they default to finding the fights, picking the fights. And in fairness, when you've got a Nunu and an Ornn and a Yasuo and a Zeri who can jump over walls, you do have the ability to just brawl if you want to. Maybe it's not the easiest option here. A little bit of a note from production here as well. Some player facts for you all. Toaster played 3 games in the EU LCS back in 2016 with Origin back in the day. Wow. It's been a hot minute now.
It's one way to take over Neil.
Yeah, right, yeah. Now, of course,
because it was Neil's back then, wasn't it?
Was.
Blimey.
Sven, now, of course, the Cloud9 sport back in the day. Toaster back on the horse, so to speak. Of course, in a slightly different capacity here down in the ERLs. But I think Veteran had some pretty strong words there about how he felt the early lane in particular would play out. But of course, you know, you get a Zeri, you get a Yasuo backed up by the likes of Emilio. Okay, never mind. We got a fight. Liam did not enjoy that at all. Burst fire becomes more like full auto as Liam Cole loses 2/3 of HP. That's a heal as well. They just kept chasing down. Brutal level 1 start for the side of Vanir.
And it's not just that, it's the experience missed as well. They are going to be so late to the lane. Level 2s for Ruddy. Certainly going to hit a lot sooner. Liam Cole, Garfield going to head into that laning phase significantly weaker. We saw just at the top there, PP Bat did the Nico jungle thing. Turned into a ranged caster, or turned into a melee caster, or melee minion rather. First of all, because they have higher attack speed. Get that clear down a lot faster, and then you can make your way through your camps very quickly.
That's the play. Certainly what they're going to attempt to do, and see the Nunu just going for a massive snowball across the map to go up and get towards that Gromp nice and early, potentially looking to shield this top side from any potential shenanigans. Maybe that's a term we'll use from now. And as it stands, a relatively stable early part, but of course, poor old Liam and Garfield took a rough level 1 trade. That's been about it as far as excitement. It's a level 3 gank. It's as fast as it comes. Kitano about to be on the wrong side. Oh, this snowball is about to be more like an avalanche. Caught in the tower, taken very low. We'll be looking to heal up, but it just doesn't matter. First blood and adjacent mode to the side of Shiha.
Yeah, Nunu has a lot of advantages in the current meta because you don't emphasize so much sort of transitions from lanes in towards other lanes, and you're looking more at this 1v1, at this 2v2. Then what you really want is a champion that just permaganks off cooldown, and Nunu is that, and Zapdo is a Nunu main. He's even likely to look for a repeat gank on top if he can, because top lane wave is not yet fixed. And Nico, on the other hand, opted for that full clear. Like you guys were saying, you're going to see the big dichotomy between a full clear jungler and a full ganking jungler right now.
Can they keep it up? You asked them to start finding some advantage, some discrepancy elsewhere, because individually, in terms of some of those straight-up matchups, it might be a little bit tough for Ruddy. Thus far, thus good. They get the initial kill topside, and here we go again, looking to try and get onto Pippi. No, they won't quite happen this time. It's a good use of the clone, and now Envy perhaps in a spot of bother, but the way it's being shoved in will be just fine, and we're left with not too much to write home about there is Zapdo will pick up the Scuttle Crab at the very least.
And Ruddy can fight for the spot side 2v2. Malphite 3 level 6, not the champion that you're looking for.
Oh, there's another snowball coming. I think it's just going to be after flash, isn't it? Harbour has to go, but the snowball can keep going. PP gets out of that one with another good use of the clone, but the Scuttle Crab is secured, but at the cost of a flash, and you've begun to wonder there for a second whether that snowball was going to cause a bit more chaos.
I mean, burning the flash from Malphite's already really good, because then if you can burn his level 6 defensively, you know, what can he really do? Or the regank.
Knock up. It's a good use of the clone. That's 3 in a row that have done a really good job there to block the Nunu attempt with the snowball, and got to be about for that. But you can see exactly how Zapdol's planning to play, right, Veteran? It is just try and consistently find where these laners are and just throw a snowball at them.
Yeah, but Malphite has to stay, so you may even see another repeat from the Nunu. Yes, you were able to block the snowball, but you weren't able to get the lane in, you weren't able to fix the
He's got consume. Flash consume! Flash consume! It's so good.
I think that was just a flash smite for absolute BM.
Just smite, yeah. It was just smite.
Oh, even okay. Slightly less exciting, but still cool.
Now, we'll have to find out whether that's worth it or not. They're just diving mid or looking for PP Bat on the jungle.
Looking for the rat.
Okay.
Looking for the wolves. Won't find it. Pui is here as well. You asked for him to be doing a little bit more on the map, but he's out of lane.
So
makes some chaos happen.
One of the powers of Nico jungle is that if you don't know where she is, she can be in any lane, popping in on any wave.
Anything.
Like, could be any minion. the thing that Ruddy have done this game so far is just not just track Nico, but bully her as well, so that she can't just turn up in a lane as a minion. You just know where she is at all times. It gives your laners a lot of freedom. And if, of course, you do find yourself in a game with a Nico jungler or a Nico support even that finds roaming quite significantly, one of the easy ways to know is this minion Nico is just if you hit tab and you don't see Nico on your minimap, but the little Nico line is highlighted, like basically you see them on vision, you know that one of those minions is Nico. That's the little tidbit for playing against a Nico minion.
I would say, though, despite the best efforts of this new the Nico is still actually ahead. The top lane is still actually doing really well. The mid lane is actually ahead. Only bot lane is a significant advantage, and they were able to get that from that 2v2 level 1. So yes, Zapdos being very, very active on the map, but the actual effect it's having on a composition that outscales his, on the composition that, once it hits 6, has very easy accesses to fight, and counters their own composition strengths, is not the biggest right now, except for the fact that that Xayah Yuumi looks quite useless coming into the first fight. So much is on that Nico to make it work.
Quick heads up as well. Of course, you are seeing our beautiful faces. Of course, Veteran there, showing us all to shame with that ridiculous jawline just slightly sideways. I see why he's got the camera angle set up. It's a bit irritating, Rudy. We sort this out.
That's why he doesn't need the beard, you see.
I know, it's very annoying. Exactly. But with that in mind, we have got a little note from production that is a player lagging that has caused the pause. Once that's been resolved, hopefully back into game shortly. But perhaps I will throw out this as a continued conversation, because while the Nico is still managing to farm, there has been some wards on the camps, and much like something like an Evelynn, Nico is going to be Nico when she's farming camps, when she's using her abilities to get through those camps, and it's a lot easier to track the Nico on the camps, much like it is with an Evelynn when you're warding against them. It's similar warding patterns, and actually Nico hasn't managed to get any ganks off. You are seeing at least her being forced out of the river consistently, and it has meant that that level 1 in bot side hasn't really had any room to be contested, because obviously the Malphite had to flash, and Nico's being contested with the Gromp, and I guess, Dude, despite the Nico still farming okay, is it enough when your bot lane's kind of being just hammered off a really rough level 1?
I think it is, right? Veteran really just touched on...
Yeah. I'm just trying to be the devil's advocate here, basically.
Yeah, I think that with bot lane going as well for Ruddy as it is, it really is now going to harken back to something I'd sort of highlighted for the draft, was can Pui and Toaster relive what they'd been doing in previous games where they'd found those wins? And it's going to come down to now not just having a significant lead in the lane, because you can see from the CS, the items, that they've got that. They're going to need to translate that. And that means Zapdos looking for early dragons. It means that they're rotating up to the top side to secure early Rift Heralds. Because as Veteran mentioned, Vanir outscaled. They have better lanes, and Ruddy are going to have to force this bot advantage very hard.
And we're back to the pause. We're back into game, and I had hope, but alas, it's to us again. I know, literally. But I mean, there's a cliff in the mid lane. It's the Malphite, see what I mean? I don't think he's hanging on right now. He's doing quite well. I think that's a bit unfair, actually, Veteran. He's playing quite well outside the flash going down. I mean, where's that come from?
He is. The Malphite's doing quite well in lane. They were able to get a very temporary freeze on towards him, but everything that they did to get that did cost some minions on towards the Astro as well. And you have to also bear in mind, Zapdos showing a lot of XP. Zapdos not getting that much farm on himself. He got that one smite away, but even with that one smite away, Nico's still farming. I don't think it's on Nico to get a lot of ganks early on, because her 6 is where she gets super powerful, and she hasn't been significantly delayed from that 6 point.
I mean, you're looking at a level 6 that's pretty strong across the board, honestly, from the side of Vanir.
Yeah.
Like, you've got that Pot Blossom, you've got the Malphite ultimate, which is, like, let's be real, most of that champion's power budget. You've got, obviously, the Yuumi ult is nothing to sniff out. Xayah getting to press R and prevent the level 6s on the other side being as impactful, particularly things like the Yasuo trying to fly at her. You see exactly how that comp's supposed to play. And you kind of said, look, the onus is on Ruddy to outplay what is a potentially difficult draft scenario. And again, it is, by the way, I'm not sure whether I mentioned it before, the same issue as before. The player is lagging. That's what the pause is about. It does give us a little bit more time, at least, to continue the podcast we started in Game 1. And Rude Dude, I guess with this in mind and the questions that have been asked about Ruddy, what do you want to see them do to try and tear apart what could be a very difficult 5v5 scenario if it does get to the mid-game in particular?
I think they've already shown it. I need to see just more, basically. Zapdo just kind of has to play like a little bit of a psychopath, honestly, on this Nunu. Giving up camps.
I mean, he's done it so far. He's flashed for a grub.
And try and generate further leads. I think if they're really trying to push the foot to the floor, it might result or might come to a dive on that bot lane. You get a stacked wave, pull NV carry down. Maybe he sacks a wave mid lane, and when that you hit the level 6 Yasuo versus like level 4 Xayah in the bot lane, you try and dive it, make sure she misses a massive wave. There's a easy tool there, if of course you can set up for said type of dive. But it's the generate early leads to make sure that when you come to the compositional disadvantages, you've got enough of a wallet to be able to beat that back.
Yeah, you just need that rainy day fund. And maybe I'll kind of continue on from a tangent with that with you, Veteran, in the sense that obviously we've seen a pretty decent laning phase, frankly, from that Zerimilio that you weren't a fan of, particularly in the lanes, but it's obviously come out to pretty decently. They've got a cull that's halfway done. They've got themselves the boots. They've got themselves 20 CS. They've kept the Yuumi and the Xayah trapped on the tower pretty well. But I guess from this point, what do you actually want to see the Zerimilio do, considering they've managed to get an advantage perhaps against the run of expectation in your mind?
I mean, now it does mean that Malphite flash is going to be very painful. Because the big macro thing that you're losing here is that this is the timing you want to be doing Drake. This right now is the 6-minute time you want to do it. Harbo's about to hit 6 on this wave, but he has to be very careful at the angle at which he approaches because he doesn't have the freedom to just flash over terrain into ult. He has to be really face up. Right now, you'd want to start getting Liam Cole ahead. You'd want to start contesting lanes with your Malphite, but you can't contest this first Drake because of the lack of flash there. So they just instead have to trade sides again. Even though the economy seems fine in the rest of the lanes, that flash burn's actually paying real dividends right now for Ruddy. It's an Infernal. That's a pretty big thing. That's going to give you a lot of value the later on in the game that we go. Liam Cole just needs a big fight, which is contrast to from draft, or you're thinking Ruddy are the ones that need fights.
Yes. That is rough.
Yeah, I mean, he got heavy zoned level 1 there, right? Heavy zoned.
And like, I'm just seeing like the cozy campfire plus the burst fire, that Q from Zeri doing a lot of work right now. Into the river we go. See another scuttle contest, and I think you did a pretty good job of summarizing what you want to see from Ruddy's kind of bot lane priority they've managed to earn for themselves. They do get that 6-minute dragon timer, so feeling pretty happy about that. Did have to seed over that scuttle crab though. Didn't feel confident enough with Shihan back in base to look for that. We got ourselves about 3 minutes until teleports come unleashed, and about a minute just under until the Herald will spawn. And are you expecting a particularly heavy contest from either of these teams, Rudude, or are you kind of still waiting to see who starts moving for it?
I would be okay with Vanir trying to contest this very, very seriously. They've got 2 really big ults. I think about far from level 6. Basically, whenever you've got unstoppable force, you want to use it. It's just such a powerful team fighting tool that if you're able to, find a 5v5, 3v3, even if it's on that top side, you really want to try and leverage that for an advantage. As you've mentioned, there's no Drake for another few minutes. If you do pick up that Herald, stop any sort of early cash injection into Ruddy's comp, it just really flatlines what their avenues to success are.
On top of that, Veteran, I'm looking at a Renekton who'll have Dominus and Iron Spike Whip and level 7 to 9 at a Herald fight as well, which is always a pretty scary thing to consider, but...
Fighting right now. Yep, there you go.
It actually is, okay. That's a lot of damage back, and that forces the Dominus before what could have been a Herald or a bot lane contest, so actually pretty well played there from Shihan. So I was about to set you up to talk about the strength of a Renekton instead. Actually ends up in a bit of a rough spake. Maybe turns one back. Does have the Conqueror. Decides against it. The flashes were up. I kind of wonder, it's actually on the bot side, Pippybat and Garfield taken so desperately low, the lightning is crashing, and it will get grounded. It's a 1-for-1, a little bit too close to the sun. Or in this case, the tier 2 towers. Harbo is kicked on the wrong side.
Nice.
Unstoppable force, damage back is pretty good. Ooh, down goes the Nunu, but on the other side, big kill onto the Nico. Now Envy beginning to run on through. Blades are flying, but so is Xayah. Over the wall they go, Pui in a difficult position. Needs to be afraid of the daggers. But to kill onto the Malphite, and knock up as well. And Liam Cole has absolutely nowhere to go. A Gromp is just a speed buff to the Yasuo. Triple kill to MV carry, the deadliest sin of them all.
3 and 3 so far for NV carry on the Yasuo. He's played it 3 times this split, has got 3 wins, and is showing why Ruddy value this champion so highly.
Where do you go from that, Veteran? What do you do after that kind of ridiculous contest?
Well, they were unable to have both their cooldowns up at the same time. For whatever reason, we didn't quite get to see, but
Yeah.
Nico had to burn her ultimate right at the start, so the Unstoppable Force could not be paired with Nico's ult there, which would have been the burst that they need to completely mitigate this. Instead, they all got caught, isolated out individually. I love these kind of Godzilla fights on top lane where they just whack each other for ages, by the way.
It's a bait. Force the flash. Overcomes beat
He's
back.
chilling.
That's fine. He is chilling. He did have to learn the flash, and that's a bit sad, but he's chilling well enough.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll know. But everything was led off. They were able to isolate, burn them one by one, and in those isolated scenarios, Yasuo wins every 1v1, right?
Yeah.
So he had the perfect condition. All of this isolation happened. He gets all of the kills. He gets a triple kill, and now MV carries on a comfort champion that is mega fed, that has a composition with a lot of knockups to enable him. This aggression from Ruddy has pulled off this game. Yesterday it didn't work out. Everybody was living on like 1 or 2 HP, but this time all the HP bars went to 0. Slight addendum, felt really bad for Liam Cole there, because if his E on the Xayah was able to get that last hit, he would actually have landed a decent kill there and could have potentially turned on MB carry, but unfortunately wasn't to be. Game of inches there.
Unfortunately for him, Ruddy are going up in the world in this game, and that's just a difficult place to be, and you can imagine the hashtags flying already. Oh yes, there's that angry B emote. The Herald was secured by the Nunu as well, and of course you're running in with the Nunu. That makes securing objectives that much trickier for Vanir, because Consume Smite is a tale as old as that champion has been a thing. Be bad in the mid lane though, that's that combo you asked for. He's in danger, just goes down in a matter of moments. Nice kill for the side of Vanir.
Not a lot of counterplay to that, unfortunately. If you're NB carry with no flash, you either flash it or you die, and we ended up with the latter of the two, and with the Drake spawning in 10 seconds time, that window is fortunately offset by the fact that Toaster and Pui are still absolutely dumpstering this bot lane, forcing Liam Cole to go back to base, so you're going to have 2 big carries for either of the teams respawning and coming out from the platform at the same time. Notable absence is that Shihan's made his way down to the mid lane, where Kitano hasn't.
Harbo taken pretty low in the mid lane there, and that's going to chunk him out as Shihan has decided to roam on down. Remember, there is that Herald and inventory for the side of Zapdo, but all the while, Kitano getting a nice chunk onto this turret, and the dragon has spawned. What have you got for me, veteran? That was a big noise.
Yeah, I mean, you had the on shift in to enable that play on mid lane, which enables their Drake, but you're just being traded for topside, because now the waves, being as in sync as they are on the collapses, you are guaranteed to be trading on the other side when you go for a roam like that as Ornn. So this Renekton and this Nico, they could become big vocal points. We talked previously about how Vanir can do these triple threat compositions. Liam Cole is no longer a threat, right? He's not landing any of these E's. He massively messed up level 1. They burned so many summoners there that Toaster could basically do whatever he wanted. And as a result, they need ways to open up, and collecting that bounty on the Yasuo mid on the Nico and getting this much gold into Gitano, we're seeing the route back into the game for Vanir.
I guess my question then back towards Rudu, though, is that something that's worthwhile doing? Because I feel like with the way the meta has generally been viewed over frankly, the last season, generally speaking, is AD carry difference has been so difficult to overcome in the other parts of the map, especially if it's a sizable one.
I would tend toward yes for this game, honestly. Or rather toward this being very Ruddy favoured, even though we see a lot of topside control for Vanir just off of Kitano and Pikachu having decent items. I would like to say that the power of having Toaster ahead of the curve, have ND carry very fed on the Yasuo. This at the moment is definitely favouring the Yasuo, and I'm looking pretty much exclusively toward Kitano to put the team on his back for the time being. I want to call out the Toaster build for the time being. We are on 13-12. This is the patch where Sheen got removed from Zeri's queue, so
yeah,
we are going to have to look to see if Toaster is weaving in those, quote, passive auto-attack, however you want to theorize it, procs, very quickly to get the Sheen going. But outside of that, the Trinity Force still gives a lot of AD, a lot of movement speed, and the fact that it doesn't proc Sheen now for Toaster is a little bit disheartening, but you still get good stats from it, even if it may not be the most hyper-efficient as it was previously.
That's a fair call out, and I'll also call out quickly that the Herald was summoned relatively late there in mid lane, which I believe NV Carry was close enough to pick some gold up on, but I wasn't quite sure, so if anyone else spots it and I was wrong, by all means call me out now. That would be a good timing for it, but is going to go down, and it does leave Ruddy with a fairly sizable gold lead as it stands of a couple thousand, which is decent at this point in the game. 3 minutes or so until we'll be looking at another dragon, which is not a mountain dragon, it's a Hextech dragon. It is just the fact that the spectator gets deceived by Hextech Drakes. So do not get confused by the timer. It is a Hex Rift, which means potential for Hexgate shenanigans.
Possibly. I do think Ruddy have two of the best Drakes you want with this. Oh, there's two of the Mega Tanks at top.
That's a Dominus in response, and we had a brief pause there in the action, but some more coming back through. There's just nothing to be done. Katana might have a gold ring, but not left there, and now the trade in mid lane is good. That combo you called for, the Malphite and the Nico, is very strong.
So we're seeing the counterplay to having fed Yasuo, fed Zeri, we're seeing why this composition for Vanir is going to look very good as we get later into the game. How has that happened? That 2v2 should not have gone that way.
Okay, well, somehow, some way, Toaster has been thrown in the bathtub and has found himself electrocuted and down. Big moment for Liam Cole, who was taken very, very low, but critically not down, and does somehow, some way manage to kick up Toaster.
I can explain. I'm going to be fined. Milio and Zeri together are just shockingly bad.
Right? Increases Q
shockingly.
Range. Surely that's great. Surely.
True.
That's how that works, right?
Increases Q range to still being below where Zaya is naturally. It's so useless,
poking
right?
holes in my point.
That doesn't fit his narrative better, and I'm afraid you're going to have to...
True.
You're ruining the script.
I mean, if you're winning 2v2 bot, and your 2v2 mid is actually getting their ultimate layerings off, then suddenly the world looks quite bright for Vanir. Kitano drew so much pressure by becoming an ultra-fed Renekton on top side, and they've managed to translate that into advantages in their other lanes. So, when we get to this third Drake, when we get to this fourth Drake, maybe even on the first Herald, let's see how these guys are feeling. Maybe we just get a full-on contest and a team fight that could well be in Vanir's favour.
And to harken back a little bit to what we were mentioning earlier on about stats being maybe misleading, Kitano's had a very, very good game on the Renekton, and those pressure points pulling Ruddy up to the top side. It's 0-2-0, but actually a very valuable part of this Vanir roster at the moment.
Yeah, and we'll give some credit over to Zap, though, for trying to mitigate that pressure, but it's been needed, because that Renekton's been very close to some solo kills, got a lot of those turret plates, has drawn a lot of pressure. Does mean, though, that now we're seeing some snowballs and some potential chaos happening. Is Envy going to be in range? No! Tried to leave it a little bit later to get Envy in range, but alas, not to be. Now we get to draw an ultimate and get away safely. PP back on recall.
That he'd missed that flash. He's on vision.
He's going to be into... Oh.
Did you just get... Did you just...
also a clone. So...
Yeah, you got tricked.
Oh, it's a clone! I got baited and outsmarted. I genuinely thought that was him because people got to the side. He's just turned himself about. I'm dumb, apparently. There's the tower in mid lane that goes down. Liam Cole and people back around. They don't... The problem is, even if it's a Malphite, you still have to be afraid.
I still find people accusing you of bug abusing when you just do the Nico clone recall because they're just unaware.
They don't.
You know, you remember when the you remember when the Blanc got changed in season 4, and
Vaguely,
you can now control the clone, right? And there were still people tricking you by just standing still as a normal one and moving the clone because previously the clone would never move. Yeah.
I think we might be bad humans, guys. We take a little bit too much joy in other people suffering. Teleports coming on through.
Least morally bad league players.
Well, enough cackling about our own moral failings. Instead, we must
Here we
turn
go.
this dragon. In goes Zap. Will have to consume some mind. So hard to deal with. Flash on out now. Harbour can look for the flank on him, but it's no hard to get into anything valuable. We'll knock up the Nunu, but I don't know how much you're going to get.
They're not layering it, though.
Breath of light off the other
now we are!
5-man Pot Blossom brings down the hammer. They throw a little bit back. Yes, the Renekton goes down, but look at Liam Cole in the background. He's just untouched, so his damage back means nothing. The feathers finally fly, and Toaster has to get on out of there. 3 for 1, and Envy must run for the hills. They get the dragon, but at what cost? How close can PP get? Not quite close enough to pick up the Yasuo, and they get out with a monster fight. Vanir.
The replay must zoom in on MV carry. I saw that, MV. I will not let you get away with what I just witnessed, okay? When you show the replay, zoom in on this guy at the end, alright? Zoom in on this guy. You'll see it, you'll see it, you'll see it. But brilliant combo, staggered by Vanir, right? They didn't get Malphite straight into Nico. It was Malphite, a little bit of a pause, and PP Bat, he bid his time. He knew that he was going to get something in this chokehold, and when he went in, he nailed all 5 of them into the Liam Cole combo, into everything. Milio Zeri couldn't do anything about it. No counterplay at that point from the Yasuo. The Ornn was already burned. And the best thing that they got was a Drake. And that is big. They could potentially trade an objective for Soul or vice versa here. That still gives difficult options for Vanir and good options for Ruddy in a match state in the next 3 minutes.
Yeah, it does bring the goal back to even. You're absolutely right. Puts them in a better space to fight the next few fights, but they are in a challenging position, as you said. They are still down a soul point, and that is going to be something they have to deal with, at least for a few more dragons. But they needed a moment. You see how their comp's supposed to work, and it was a beautiful moment indeed. Zapdo is a very fast Nunu, and will force some swift backing up towards their tier 2s from Vanir. But nothing more to be found as yet.
It's important to remember the compositions that the pitfalls and the positives for both of these comps was that Ruddy really wanted to be ahead heading into this mid game, and their monetary value isn't. The thing that they've got going for them are those Drakes, but we really need to see if Vanir can just, if they find this fight around the 4th dragon and Ruddy don't either swap it for a Baron or absolutely rinse them at the Drake fight, Vanir are very happy. These next 5 minutes are incredibly important because Vanir are more than happy with how this goes if they don't lose a big objective.
Quick question to our observers if they are listening. Can we have a look at the gold value for our individual players? And it'd be great to see where everyone's standing and where the gold has been allocated around, as you can see. Pretty solid stuff in the bottom mid lanes for the side of Ruddy, but it's that jungle. There's just so much gold for Vanir right now.
There is some pro-Envy carry propaganda happening where we don't get to see his flash fill and don't even get to see that team. I don't think I haven't noticed that, observers, okay?
It'll be on Twitter, you know it.
Veron will be the one to put it there.
True!
In the break, gonna stick it on there. Envy, I know who you are. Oh dear.
I think they know, guys.
Escapes.
I think they know that this this T-posing Malphite is the Nico clone.
This is a very aggressive play. They'll throw down the control ward, and that will force potential stoppers, PP Bat and Garfield, hanging over the wall and looking to prevent this damage. We're down to 7,000 HP. Remember, this is still into a consume. This is not an easy straight-up smite fight. She had taken a little bit low, but if
they back up, it's good.
If
they back up, it's good, because they've burned Harbo's TP, so if they played this to burn teleport, it's good. So Vanir can't let them set up the map again, so Vanir have to do this.
What if we just take the Baron instead? They have to stop the Nunu from getting in.
It's harder, easier said than done. Call of Fortune comes across, they're trying to turn this one around, down to 3,000 HP to Baron. Pop loss into the backline is big. Down goes the Milio, but it was
Milio,
so it's back in. So much work coming from this Zeri, who is looking like a thunderstorm. Envy gets another, and Vanir have bitten off way more than they could chew. Shut down onto Liam Cole, who is taken straight out of the sky with another thunderbolt. Baron goes as well, and Ruddy get absolutely everything there. PP Bat alone survives the catastrophe.
This is perfect recognition from Ruddy. I said, Vanir are happy if nothing happens in the next 2-3 minutes. Ruddy know they've got to force. And that's exactly what they do. Head toward the Baron, they play for the TP, they get that out, heal away, and then go back in with a very positive fight. PP Pat dives into the backline, but he takes out the Milio instead of the Zeri. And then there's the problem of the hyperfed Yasuo. Ruddy very cognizant of how to play out the next 2 minutes, and they come out with a massive lead. Baron at their back, Drake soul spawning in 10 seconds time. Everything came up clutch.
Drake Soul spawning and Nico Ultimate will not be available for this, and Vanir once again have to fight it. The reason that the Baron thing worked out so well is that if Vanir just let the map get set up, they have no way of contesting this Soul or contesting the Baron in a trade because they had no TPs. So they had to end up taking a fight while taking all of the Baron aggro. Now, you can't layer Nico out here. It's not up.
Knocked up and knocked down. Paper beats rock, and you can see what's in inventory from that Zeri turning from a toaster into a lawnmower. The Titanic Hydra's in. We are on 13-11, so this is a little ways before that gets nerfed. That means Zeri is so potent right now with this 3-item build. Hextech Dragon falls shortly, and that means Soul, it means Baron, it means Vanir in dire straits.
Well, I apologise to lying for everybody that we're on 13-12.
I got a note from production, by the by.
But it doesn't take away from the fact that Ruddy are now in a very positive position with this game, and the fact that PP Bat may well be 6-1-2 on the Nico, but they've got a 3-item hyperfed Zeri, a champion that we know has been banned globally on this patch. for as many games as we've seen it played.
It's quite strong.
It's very strong.
Quick addendum as well.
There
That's
we
a
go.
Trinity fusion because of that.
Done.
Ornn, and there's the fight under the tower. There's no need for any more addendums because this is a postscript. Vanir are dead to rights. Another fight goes against them. And Ruddy, despite some questions about their comp, despite some questions about the mid game, will come up clutch when it matters, and in 24 minutes will move to 5-3.
That is indeed game. They have the Sheen up on Tosa, they have MB Carry who just demolishes towers on this Yasuo, and they have demolished books coming in left, right and center. That's it. You had a really good combo as Vanir, but once it was out of sync once, it was on that soul point that it was out of sync, so Ruddy were able to force one contest into another contest